Adventureroos!
Hi!
Welcome to episode 22 of
A Very Adventure
Vodcast. This week we are going to be discussing episode 3 of season 5 of the Venture Brothers, Sphinx Rising.
So we're going to throw out our weekly spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this episode, this season, heck, if you haven't seen the series, pause this, go watch the entire thing. We'll be here when you're done.
And then unpause us, please.
Right.
So it was written by Dot Hammer.
Right.
Clearly.
Naturally.
Because there were feels, failure, and new faces.
And lots of, backstory.
So it starts with Gary attacking a semi-truck.
Right. And humming a little song while he's doing it.
Yeah, which is really funny.
Gary style.
He's very cute under Doc's writing.
Yeah.
I really enjoy him. Especially now that he's not trying to ruin the Monarch's marriage.
Yes.
He's very, enjoy his character.
Endearing nerd.
Yeah. And he uses his old, hench wings to attack the truck, which I thought was, resourceful.
Yeah. They were just lying around.
And he attacks, these math-themed bad guys because they're wearing, the division signs on their masks. Mm-hmm. And he accidentally kills a kid.
Whoops.
Called Short Division. However, he leaves Long Division still at large. Surprise, Brock and Shore Leave are undercover.
Right. And they get really mad.
They get really angry about the whole situation, that Gary is disrupting their plans, and they're kind of annoyed. He's trying to do kind of what exactly he told them he was going to be doing, so I don't know why they're getting so irritated. He's actually, trying to carry out being, this lone wolf, Sphinx agent.
Well, I think Shore Leave even said, honestly, what did we think you were going to do? Use the hot tub a few times.
Yeah.
You think you were actually going to do this.
That's very true. So, cue the lack of a title sequence, which we realize we haven't had one all season. Not that we're complaining about, more show, but it's just interesting.
I like the more show. So, back at the Venture House, we start another episode at the breakfast table.
Doc has this great... Sorry. Dr. Venture has this great line where he says, "I'm tired of that ex-henchman being a better bodyguard than that ex-villain I hired." Right? Yeah.
But it's true. Hatred even, goes, and we'll talk about this later, but, goes to Dean and is I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
I'm bad at my job.
We feel less bad about kind of hating on Hatred a little bit last week. But Hatred and Gary, meanwhile, are outside having another territorial kind of riff over the Venture family, and they talk about penises, and Gary manages to even nerd that up by talking about Dune. And he makes a Paul Muad'Dib. I haven't read Dune. Have you read Dune?
No.
I know. It's really bad on my nerd cred.
I know.
So, anyway, but it's, he's making a joke about him writing a sand word, which I guess is...
But I hear everything in it is really good.
Yes.
Hatred, he still thinks that Gary is a bad guy.
He's the only one.
And he later thinks he's behind the whole detonation situation. Which is worrying because he says, once a bad guy, always a bad guy. And he used to be a villain.
But here's an idea. I was thinking about this, and I don't think you're going to like it, but it seems pretty realistic that Gary could possibly replace Hatred as the Venture bodyguard, especially now that he's kind of out of a job. And they're kind of setting Hatred up to leave, like you pointed out last week.
They are setting... I feel like they're setting him up to leave. I don't want that to be the answer. I want the answer to be Brock is going to be back.
And it's going to completely burn the Monarch if...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then, ready with the acid magnet. We're still unclear as to whether or not that would work.
I didn't understand his explanation at all.
But yay, Monarchs!
Yay!
They're doing villainy things.
And they're so cute. So Gary ends up helping Hatred, blast the cocoon and the coupling or whatever, rendering, Monarch's plan obsolete. And then Dr. Wife is trying to be I think that was Gary. And he's like, no, he's my most loyal man, which is just sad.
He just, I keep feeling it's going to get to this point where, nobody believes him so hard that he's fine, I give up. I'm just going to go back and work for the Monarch.
That's what I kind of thought was going to happen.
I just feel like they're going to just, push him into this, nobody's buying that you've changed.
Right.
So you might as well go back to your old ways.
But I just think he's going to become the next bodyguard because there's no way Doc and Jackson are going to give us what we want with Brock. right?
I know. They never do. So then they jettison the lunchroom.
Which is just like, that is why the monarch
I
is
love
fantastic.
Yeah, and I love Gary giving the formula. Like, okay, well now he knows he's going to look like a douche, so he has to do something. And now he's going to do something really dumb, and he jettisons the lunchroom. And then, of course, he's like, oh, but it's Wings Day.
I know, and they have chafing dishes. It's like a really nice situation.
So, cut to the Guild List, which is a parody on Craigslist, which is so adorable.
Oh my gosh.
They're reading the posting for new Sphinx members, and I love that the monarch is like, do you want me to read Misconnections or Casual Encounters next?
I know.
Which is just, it's such this moment of like, this is something I actually do with my friends.
All the time. I have it bookmarked on my phone.
Yeah, like we read these all the time and
so
just
much
laugh
fun.
at them, and I just love that that's something that he's doing with Dr. White.
I know,
it's
like,
so cute.
Again, I couldn't like him more, and then I do. The Guild List, where Gary is advertising for new Sphinx members, it's filed under personal / strictly platonic. And the ad title is actually XB Guy ISO Good Guys, which is in search of.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And
I love that the listing said 420 friendly, but only in your off time.
Yeah. And the most delusional part is where it said drama free. Now we start to see the old Sphinx team. And I keep wanting to say Cobra because that's the parody that they're
playing off
of. Thank you. And they were Cobra was the nemesis of G.I. Joe. Not that I watched it. Not really. I mean, I watched, Power Rangers and Animaniacs, but never really got into G.I. Joe.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Did you ever?
No, but, like, my brother was older than me, but he, like, I don't know, dabbled in it. My best friend was a boy.
Yeah.
So he was into G.I. Joe, and I just remember, like, I always look at the imagery from OSI and think, like, that's so G.I. Joe.
It's so...
And Sphinx is just like Cobra.
They're so similar that we often get confused at Dragon Con.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as to who is what.
I've walked up to people dressed up as Cobra members and been like, oh my gosh, your Butcher Brothers cosplay. And they're like, what?
Yeah, true story.
We don't know what that is.
Okay, so we start with this, like, fantastically sweatered, Bluetooth-wearing dad guy.
That's a great sweater.
Yeah, with a penchant for African art.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably based off of Storm Shadow, based on the... interesting name, who was the martial arts expert in Cobra. He was voiced in this episode by Tim Meadows of SNL fame, like The Ladies' Man and Bob's Burgers.
And then there's the snake guy with the metal hand and the burns and the missing fingers, which we're really hoping is unrelated to the Teresa incident as to why they broke up. But he's probably based on a bat from Cobra, which is a battle android trooper.
We're guessing.
Yeah. Either had a robotic arm or a flamethrower. In this case, he has a robotic arm.
And he shoots flames with regular flame guns.
With regular guns. He's voiced by Larry Murphy, who's also from Bob's Burgers and in home movies.
Yeah. So... I loved the Sphinx Commander.
It was so great.
Mostly because he reminded us of the Monarch.
Right.
With the shrieking and the ridiculous plot.
And I really loved how everyone kept asking him, like, why are you yelling?
Yeah. So speaking of that, I wanted to show Holly what a great parody he was in live action. So I'll pull this up on my phone. Are you ready?
Oh, look, how conveniently ready.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
Which must have been awful for Jackson's voice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Image must have just shredded it. But I love that he says that the reason he's in Teresa's like, stalking her is because the reception is really good here.
So then there's Teresa, the Countess. She's only in there a few times, but she's probably based on the sexy glasses-wearing Baroness in Cobra. And she's not really involved except for to chase the commander off her property. And Hank wears her strength suit.
And it's weird. So it kind of paints a picture of what happened to the old Sphinx, you know? We're interpreting that Teresa broke the heart of the Sphinx commander by having an affair with, like, the robot guy, with the snake guy with the robot hand.
Right.
And that they kind of fell apart because she yokoed them so hard, and it's over for them.
Yeah.
Or it was for a long time.
Well, yeah.
About 20 years ago.
Up until now.
Yeah, and he's still, like, obsessed with her.
Yeah, clearly. So Gary enlists Hank to be a part of Sphinx, which I guess is proof that he's not interested in Hatred's job.
Currently.
Since it's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
He's not very fatherly, though, so I don't really think he thinks about that kind of stuff. You know, like, oh, I don't care if it's dangerous. I just need more people.
Right. Well, he says something like, you know, he's an adult.
Yeah.
And it's like, is he? It's cute how Hank calls 21 Gary. Like, almost everyone made that transition really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's perfect that, you know, Hank is, like, the perfect person to ask to be in Sphinx. Like, he was already in Sphinx, and, you know, he knows been dying for this moment.
Yeah. He's been watching Brock in his shadow for years, just, like, waiting.
For someone to ask him to do something like this, right?
So, because of that, Dr. Venture and Hatred think that Hank is sexing up some stripper-named girl named Destiny, which is really funny because the reference is, it sounds like some girl from Rock of Love, which I know Doc watched, which is how he knows that. They seem okay with this as long as it's not Rusty's old flame.
Yeah, I'm surprised. They're kind of, like, ready for him to, like, move on. They weren't, like, upset with the act, just the girl's name.
I like the distinction that Pamela and Pam are okay, but oh gosh, he's not ready for a Pammy. Oh my goodness. No way.
Sorry, Pammy, and Pammys and Destinies of the world.
Yeah, sorry about your names.
So then we zoom back to the Monarch's house, and we're treated to, like, 10 seconds of going, what is wrong with the Monarch's face? And please tell me this is a mask, and that he's going to comment on it. Because, like, for a few minutes he just kind of riffs on, you know, misconnection.
I know. It was so confusing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not a thing.
So hoping, wishing, praying that it was a costume. And it was. So Dr. Wife, or the Brooklyn Beardo, like, tries to, like, slow walk her husband to the idea that maybe it's 21 who's posted the ad, you know.
She was like, doesn't that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like 21.
But no.
No, he won't have it.
Isn't it weird how weird it is hearing her voice come out of the Brooklyn Beardo mask and finding it strange? Because that voice goes with that face. But to us, it's like,
where's sexy Dr. Mrs.?
That's a lady's voice. Like, it's so weird how it's messed with our brains. Like,
so much. It's funny because they both use their real voices. They don't really just try to disguise their voices at all. And of course, Dr. Venture and Hatred, neither one picks up on it an iota. Like, they're just like, okay.
Okay, it's weird when I watched the show with friends and, like, for the first time, and they laugh at her voice, and I think, I'm like, oh, I don't even hear that anymore. That's how that is. That's just how that is.
Also, the Monarch has a Monarch-themed BlackBerry.
And I want one.
Awesome. I like that all of the technology is, like, Apple products, or, like, in this case, a BlackBerry, but they're, like, a little modified, like the flames on all the Apple products.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that the Monarch's house was, you know, like, Frank Lloyd Wright inspired. Like, the outside of their current house is, like, based on the Innis house, I think is how you pronounce it. But in this season, especially with, like, the graphics being what they are, like the stained glass, the skylight, the doors, I mean, it's so, like, ridiculously Frank Lloyd Wrighty.
There's also a framed photo of the Muppets on the dresser, and I think we both realized that we're not so anti-Muppets anymore. There are these really great cosplayers who had, like, stuffed snuggly Muppet
completely
babies.
Like, life-size, homemade.
They were so great, and we held them and took a picture, and I kind of snuggled them a little.
They were really cozy.
Yeah.
And I kind of see why she thinks they're cute now.
Yeah, like, as long as they're quiet.
Which they have been.
Like, the stuffed version of them has been great.
This season, they've been pretty quiet.